We're live. Great. I think we're live. Are we? Yes. Yes, we are.
Super.
Brilliant. Fabulous. Hello, everyone. We'll wait for a few people to just join. Great. Should I call you Boomba Mamu? Should I call you? What should I call you?
What's the alternative?
Alternative is Bickram G or Mr. Ghosh or which is, I don't know, it's weird. But anyway, there's
whatever you're comfortable with, whatever is fun.
Whatever is fun, yeah. Welcome to everybody. Welcome to Cut the Crap, Season 2, Episode 3, I think we're on. Yes, Episode 3. And I have the wonderful maestro Bickram Ghosh with me today. And it's a pleasure having you on my show. Thank you for being here.
Welcome.
And, before we start though, while everybody is joining in, I just want to make a really quick announcement, which is that obviously the Amphan cyclone has caused a lot of devastation across West Bengal and Orissa, and it's caused a lot of destruction. There's a very small theatre group in Kolkata called Shohoj. They're a group of young theatre artists who had decided together to make some kind of difference and to help out people who have been kind of affected by this massive cyclone. I put a link to their page on the description of this video. If you would like to donate to the cause, they've been going to villages and actually going to the sites that have been affected. They're currently trying to build a tube well for a certain village, and also they're trying to take out salt water from ponds that have been affected. So if you want to help with that cause and you want to donate, they are not a professional NGO, but they're just a group of young people trying to do something and trying to make a difference. So if you would like to donate, please click on the link. I've put it above this video, so you can do that. So just a small announcement if anybody wants to help. But once again, very, very happy to have you on my show. And let's get started without wasting any time. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what your goal from whenever you started music, what your goal has been with your music? What have you always wanted to achieve with it? And with all the years of experience, what is it now? Has it changed? And what do you hope to do with it in the future?
Yeah, well, the good news is it changes every 5 years. So when I started out, all I wanted to be was just to do something which on some level my father would be proud of or happy with, maybe not even proud of, just happy with. Okay, Chirata tabla bajalu, my son is a tabla player. Because my father really sacrificed a lot, and my mother as well. They did a lot. They sacrificed a lot in their own careers to kind of make me whatever I've become. Because there's this wonderful story of my. We used to live in San Rafael when I was a child, and Baba was doing brilliantly there with Ali Akbar Khan Sahab and playing lots of concerts and a really high-flying life, so to say. Well, suddenly he decided to come back to India. And later on when I asked him, and I've clarified this with some friends of his from that period, and I asked him, why did you come back? I mean, you had a great life there. Why did you come back to India? He said, it's you. So I said, what did I do? So he said, you called me dad. So as the story goes, I apparently called him dad and not Baba. And he had this flash that maybe his son's not going to be a tabla player if he grows up in that country. Well, that was his thought, his thinking. He felt in those days that, we're talking about the early 70s. So he thought that maybe if you come back to India, I will have more of a grounding in the Indian culture, etc. And which I kind of think, if not so dramatic, but I would think that there is some truth in that, because I was kind of growing up on Sesame Street and Speed Racer and watching 24-hour television, which was there in the late 60s, early 70s. And coming back to India was, of course, a big shock to the system. But flash forward to when I completed my master's degree, then Baba asked me that now you've studied, I've given you a good education, and I've taught you tabla. What do you want to do? Do you want to be pursuing the academic career? Without a flash, I said I want to be a tabla player, because obviously, I mean, I was born a fan of Pandit Shankar Ghosh, and I'm still trying to find my way through it. And I did just want to be a tabla player. That's all. But over the years, understanding the nitty-gritties, the nuances, and gradually gaining in self-confidence through the years, I started getting ambitious. I started thinking, maybe why not this? Why not that? Why not that? And in fact, I became quite fearless, so to say. Post the age of 30, I think I was like, well, I just want to do this, and I'm going to do it. So it keeps changing. It is changing again, and I feel it changing now. So yeah, the goals are exciting. They're not complicated for me. It's exciting, and as long as I do my homework right, I do my work with it right, I think they're absolutely achievable.
Thank you. That's wonderful. I wanted to go into something that I haven't gone into with anybody else, because I was just watching because of this lockdown, there's been so many interviews and stuff that's been happening online, which is great, actually. You get to hear people's opinions, which I don't think you get to hear otherwise, especially in this community. And there's a very idealistic view, according to me, I might be wrong, but there's a very idealistic view that if you do hours and hours of riyaz and sadhana, that's all you need to become a complete artist in the Indian classical music and dance community. I don't personally think that's the case, but I wanted to know from you, what do you think about that? And obviously riyaz is a given thing, the sadhana is a given thing, but other than that, what are the things or the qualities that an artist needs to imbibe to be able to kind of reach that level or the goal or the achievement that they wish to get to? Because it's not so simple as to just say, I do 4 hours riyaz every day, and so I know I'm going to get opportunities to get on stage, and I'm going to be financially stable from that. There's so many other factors. So if you just want to go into that a little bit.
Well, doing hours and hours of riyaz and that being the only route to making it is a fallacy. Everybody knows that. If somebody doesn't know that, wake up. If it was just riyaz, then I'll give you an example of what might happen, because my father faced it. When there was a point of time in his life, he was doing 14 hours of chilla, of riyaz a day. And he did this for 3 months. And he even said that his grandfather had died in the room next door. And he was so serious about the 7 + 7 hours, before lunch and after lunch, that he didn't get up. And what did have happen at one point, he developed a nerve problem because of excessive riyaz.
Right.
And your dad knows that, your mom knows it. So a lot of people know of it, because he was very public in talking about it, because he wanted people to be careful.
Right.
And of course, later on, he himself told me that going overboard is not a good idea. So if you keep practicing, just keep practicing. And after all, it's with tabla, it's your hands, and you're not playing with sticks. So there is wear and tear of the nerves, the bones. That's one aspect of it. The other aspect is, I personally think that anything you want to achieve in life, you have to approach it holistically. Right. You cannot approach it with tunnel vision. If it's tunnel vision, then you are in for a rude shock, because at the end of the tunnel, you're expecting something and you get something else. So for me, it's very, I tend to have a practical view on things. And I think that, whatever your goal may be, that is, so if you should do that which helps you to reach your goal. So if your goal is to be tayyar, practice. Your hands will move. You will succeed in gaining a certain amount of speed. Just practicing gives no guarantee for aesthetics.
Right.
So if you want to learn aesthetics, then go after aesthetics. That is another journey. And that involves a lot of listening. So if you were to just keep practicing and not listening, then I think on some level you will lose out on aesthetics, because you learn aesthetics from listening to others, and what reverberates with you, what vibrates with you aesthetically, you imbibe it. So that is the second point. And then is, of course, finally, when you have honed your skills, you have become somewhat of the musician you wanted to see yourself become, in terms of your tayari, in terms of your knowledge base, learning from the guru, the talim, and then, of course, your aesthetics. Then begins the huge war to kind of just make it, because then there are so many variables and circumstances, destiny, your personality, all kinds of things are there. And those are all variables. And as you gradually step into the world of professional music, classical music, you begin to understand that these are all variables. And the few things that are in your control is indeed riyaz. Riyaz you can practice, and you can achieve the end, which is tayari, which is, a control over the medium. But then after that, gosh, it's like, Alice in Wonderland.
I wanted to ask you, related to this, because you're saying you said the word personality, which I think is really important. I ask this to a lot of my guests, which is image building. And I think image building is a really massive part of what we do. At whatever level, whether you're a junior artist, a senior artist, however many years of experience you have, image building is something that's very central. And people don't really speak about that. And the reason I think we should speak about it is because there are, especially in my generation of musicians or dancers, there's a very certain way of building that image, right? I was reading an article on you, actually, of Hindu Times. It was your interview, and they were writing in it. There was a point where they were saying that, Bickram Ghosh sitting there with his jeans and his leather jacket, like that's something that they feel is necessary to mention because you're an Indian classical musician. And which I think is, it's great, fine, they're mentioning it because obviously they thought you looked cool at that point. But why is it that they felt it necessary to mention that? Because I feel a lot of the younger musicians and dancers feel that if I'm not wearing a kurta and I'm not wearing a sari and attending a concert, I'm not going to be taken seriously as a musician or a dancer. And I wanted to know whether you faced that when you were our age, growing up. Whether did you actually put so much thinking into what you wore to an Indian classical music concert, how you came across? Did you come across as a bhalo chele, or did you actually put so much thought into it, and did that affect your playing?
Well, yes. I wish I could show you a couple of photographs, and I'm sure you will find some in your mother's stash of photos. Me, late 80s, early 90s, I used to look like a bhalo chele. Not that I don't look like a bhalo chele anymore. I may not look like a chele anymore, but I look, maybe it's more man or aging man, whatever you want to use. But there was a time when I did look like a bhalo chele because I really wanted to come across as somebody who fits in. And so out came the kurtas. If everybody was getting the kurtas done by a particular tailor, I would go to that particular tailor.
Oh, wow.
It was all about fitting in, It's just that, I need to fit in. Because somewhere at the back of my head, I used to feel I'm not going to fit in, because I had a very, very different upbringing from most of the people I knew in the field, in classical music. And having grown up till I was 6 in America, 5.5, 6, and then coming back, studying in La Martiniere, where nobody, my friends weren't into classical music. Nobody was into classical music. And then St. Xavier's College, Jadavpur, I was always in denims. I was never a kurta pajama guy. So then I realized that there was a lot I didn't know about the tehzeeb of this world. Uh, I was just hanging out with people, and uh, somehow I missed out on a lot of details, which I later was surprised that why didn't I know these things? You know, this is the way I'm supposed to behave. This is what I'm supposed to do. Why didn't I know this? Why didn't my father tell me? Why didn't my mother tell me? You know, I mean, somehow maybe they just thought, or maybe it skipped their mind. You know, maybe they thought he'll. My father was always the kind of person who thought his son should find his own way. He's not going to make it easy for me, not going to make it difficult for me. Let him just, you know, traverse his own path. So I did get into that whole playing the role. And what interestingly happened is, once I tried to fit in and really bad, and I wanted to play the role of whatever I was trying to be, I started putting on a lot of weight. I just started putting on a lot of weight, and I became fat and eventually unhappy. So I figured I'm not doing this right. Somehow I'm not doing it right, you know. So I, much later, very late 20s, early 30s, I broke out of that mold. I figured I'm going to wear what I feel comfortable in. Of course, I'm going to wear kurta pajama on stage when I'm playing a classical concert. That is the norm. Yeah. You have to. And that is the music. There's no two ways about it. But I felt, I started thinking, what kind of kurta do I feel comfortable in? And I felt I was comfortable in solid colors, not in a lot of kaj, a lot of embroidery, you know. So somehow all of that. So I just I changed my look very consciously, you know. Once I came to that understanding, I changed my look very, very consciously. I still have a khata, which is a spiral bound khata from 1998, where I wrote 58 points, what I had to change about myself.
Oh, wow.
To get back to who I ought to be, what vibrates with me naturally. So all of that was done. And one by one, I started kind of taking care of those 58 points. And I ticked off the last one in about a couple of years' time. And it also included things like reconnect with my school friends.
Right.
You know, all of that. You get into this obsessive mode in any career. You become obsessive after it happens to most people, you know. You become obsessive and you begin to think that this is it. Life is this. There's nothing more. I just have to make it as a tabla player.
Right.
That's the fallacy, you know. No, you need to have other lives. You cannot be just one thing. And if you are just one thing, your music will suffer because you will be, again, tunnel visioned, and you will not have more powerful vibrations and frequencies coming your way from different experiences, which in one particular field of activity, you are going to repeat experience, constantly doing the same thing and meeting the same people, etc. So if you open that up and you start meeting other people, you do other things. I started doing all the things that I thought I loved doing and I wanted to do. And I really feel from the bottom of my heart that my music changed. And it was like a light bulb, boom, it just went like that. And I said, wow, this is the way I want to play, really. This is what I want to play. So that was kind of a moment of enlightenment.
Do you think that as a musician, your decisions have played, or your moral, ethical decisions in life have played a massive role in your music, and that's shown in your music? I ask this because obviously, being brought up in the UK, there's a lot of people who listen to a lot of Indian classical music and dance, but they're not musicians themselves. And when they listen to amazing vocalists or tabla players or watch dancers who they get inspired by, I've heard a lot of people say to me, oh, their music is that amazing because they're amazing as human beings, right? And I I have a lot of struggle understanding this point, because I don't completely agree with that. That if you're a great human being, your music will come out great, or if you're a great musician, you're a great human being. Where do you think that line is? Because I think a lot of people who don't know about this field do feel that, and maybe they get that when they listen to the music. I don't know.
Well, I'd like to broaden the spectrum a bit. It's
Yes,
not
please.
just music. I think when people admire people, they want to think that they are good people, that they
Mm,
have a certain set of values.
mm,
That's a very common thing. You admire somebody, you want to feel that there are values that you vibrate with in that person.
right. Mm,
I don't, I don't like judging people at all. I think it's a really it's a negative activity.
right.
Uh, so I don't attach any expectations from the person because of the person's music.
Mm,
I would want to be close to a person if I admired the person's music. I
mm,
would definitely want to get to know the person, but I wouldn't want to get to know the person thinking that the person will vibrate with my ethical values.
right.
Mine may be different,
Mm,
yours may be different, another person's may be different, and that person may be doing things which you may think is not right, and maybe in that person's head it's all logical. I'm not saying that there is no moral code to be met with. No, I'm just saying, uh, again, be practical. You like a person's music, like a person's music, full
mm,
stop. You like a person, like a person.
mm,
You enjoy the person's company, enjoy the person's company.
mm,
If you are expecting something else from doing this,
mm,
then that's impractical. It's like saying, if I do riyaz uh, 10 hours a day, I will learn aesthetics.
right.
That it's a fallacy. So
Mm,
people are what they are. And I think everybody is frailed. Uh, there's frailty in everybody. And I hate it when people are disappointed. I
mm,
hate it when people say, "Oh, I heard so and so's music and I got to know him or her, and I was so disappointed. The person is not like what I thought him to be, or etc." I think that's not fair. That's not done. You
mm,
can be you continue to enjoy the music. See, music is something that has its own vibration.
right.
We are not the source of the music. The music runs through us.
Right.
That's the way I see it.
Mm-hmm.
There is a source, and we are tapping into that source.
Mm,
There are frequencies which we hone our skills to tap into. We are not the source.
mm,
So if we feel that way, then there is something wonderful passing through us.
mm,
If we see that, and then if others see that also, then things are simple. If they think this is the source of the fountain, this person is the source of the fountain, and this person is, yes, of course, the guru is the source of the fountain for you, but the fountain itself, where does the water come from?
right.
The water is some cosmic magic. So we can't forget that. So the person is kind of like the catalyst to serve it to you.
Mm,
And
mm,
some people are great at it, and so they become great musicians. But I think it's kind of immature to think that a person who is a great musician has to adhere to so and so's moral and ethical values. I don't buy that.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I just feel that I think there's a lot of generalization when it comes to musicians and dancers, because when anybody watches me even dance, they might think, if they like my dance, they'll be like, oh, she's dancing very well because she's a really great human being. And then they come with that expectation that when they meet me off stage, that I'll be really great to them and amazing to them, and hopefully they'll understand that I'm a great human being.
What's even more interesting is when you fall from grace in somebody's eyes as a
Mm,
person, one of the first things they say is that the music is not that good,
yeah.
because then they think, oh well, he used to be such a great player, but because he's lost his sense of values, now he's not that good, or
Yeah.
she.
Yeah, and I think this is, I think the problem with this is that a lot of, and if I may say so myself, there's a lot of senior musicians who've made this uh, a thing. I don't know what else to call it, because it's a thing because of them. I've seen
Mm.
countless interviews on YouTube, and because of Cut the Crap, I've been researching a lot, so it's helped me in many ways. I've been watching interviews of senior artists saying, "अरे सुर अच्छा है क्योंकि वो आदमी अच्छा है," and I'm like, yeah, but that's, I don't think that's the right thing to put into young minds even,
No,
because
but let
I
me
don't know what that.
let me cut in there for a bit.
Yeah, please.
There is something.
Hmm.
अगर सुर अच्छा है,
Hmm.
तो something is happening
Yeah.
that is contributing or making that sur acha happen.
Hmm.
And that isn't necessarily, it may be, I'm not discounting it, it may
Exactly.
be an ethical value, it may be a goodness of heart, it may be many things, but to create the right sur is also to each his own. Some people create the right sur going from Koshba, where you all have your house in Kolkata,
Hmm.
via Rashbihari
Hmm.
to reach Southern Avenue. And some people will go from Koshba, take a by lane, go via Gariahat, and come back to Southern Avenue. So, as long as you reach the goal, I am not here to judge your path.
Right.
I am here to judge the goal. So, laga ki nahi laga, that much I want to judge, even for myself. So, the rest of it, I think, is really a, I mean, every culture, every artistic culture, every even office culture has a history of legend. It is like, you know, so and so did this, and then that happened, and that's legend. That is like the story of how the tabla was born. So there's this wonderful story, and it's my favorite story, so don't get me wrong there, that there were two Pakhawaj players in the court of some king. They were in competition with each other, and one of them lost, and so he got so frustrated, he picked up the Pakhawaj and threw it on the ground, and it broke into two parts. And then he picked up one part and played it, and he said, "Toot gaya tab bhi bola, wahan se tabla ho gaya." So two parts, you know.
Right. Right.
So the problem with it is the science that if the lower end of the instrument is non-existent, there is no resonance box, so it's not going to happen. So it's like that. If we are building on legend, then it's wonderful for inspiration, but for reality, you have to do a reality check. And I mean, if you are following just inspiration, then somewhere you may fall and need to do a reality check. And when you do the reality check, then you may feel, oh my God, I wasted so much time. I should have learned this before. I should have understood this before.
Yeah.
So I'm not, I am again not of the bent of mind to say so-and-so did that and that's wrong and so-and-so is not doing it so right. There is no right, wrong, all this is too complicated. You know, I think we should just simplify it and say, somebody did it in a certain way. It worked for them. Is it working for you? If it is, follow the path. If it's not, cut the crap, do something else.
Yeah, fair enough. We'll take one question. Unmesh Banerjee is writing, what's the difference between depth of Indian classical music and spirituality in terms of religion?
Ooh.
Yeah.
All right, Unmesh. That is a tough one. Yes. Okay. I would say I would like to start at the commonality. What is the commonality between the depth of the music and an understanding of spirituality? I think the realization of both operate on a certain frequency. There is a frequency at which the human brain achieves a certain level of spirituality. There is a vibration that happens that translates into a physical experience. It is experiential. It is no longer intellect.
Right.
So when it is experiential and when you're vibrating on that frequency, then you understand the depth of music as well as a musician, because there is something that opens up, something that suddenly you realize that, oh, I hadn't gotten this before. This is the na that I was looking for. This is the na. And this is not the na of Pandit Shankar Ghosh. This is not the na of Ustad Zakir Hussain. This is Bickram Ghosh's na. That is the realization that you come to. What is your own na? The.
Right.
Na, the.
Yeah.
So I think once we get into that mindset, then they become one and the same. Spirituality and the depth of music. But otherwise, I think again, it's we can try very hard to merge these two trajectories of spirituality and the depth of understanding in music. But at best, they often come as flashes. And then there are long, consistent periods where you just don't get it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I guess that's a really difficult question, actually, Unmesh. Thanks for asking that, because that's something that a lot of people
he's a thinking musician. He is a thinking musician. I know him well. And
yes.
So
very, very good question. Thank you for that, Unmesh. But I wanted to go into a topic that I know you're passionate about and that you've been fighting with also, which is the kind of accompanist role. And I've spoken about this in length in one of my sessions. But I know that you're
I saw a part of that interview.
Yes, and I know that you're very big on this. So first thing I want to know from you is, what do you think of the terminology when it comes to main artist and accompanying artist? Do you think that terminology is relevant? And secondly, if yes or no, depending on whatever you answer, what are your thoughts on how publicity should be done, especially in this day and age? Why is there still a discrimination between the sizes of a main artist and an accompanying artist? And sometimes, why is the accompanying artist not even visible on the poster or on the marketing ways?
So let me answer them separately, because I don't have a very long attention span. So I will stick with the current question. That, do you think the tabla player's name should be there in the invite? That's a rhetorical question. Of course, it should. And why not? I mean, you got to give me reasons why not. That's exactly. More important, you know. It's like, why even discuss what's obvious, you know? Let's to elaborate a bit on it, why I think this way. Let us try to understand the role of the tabla player. What does the tabla player do on the stage? Especially in an instrumental concert. I'm just sticking by the instrumental scenario right now, not talking about vocal or dance. In an instrumental music concert, which is as a tabla player, most of the concerts in the classical frame I have done are concerts where I have been playing with instrumentalists.
Right.
I have played vocal, but comparatively much less. I have played dance, comparatively much less. So as somebody who's playing with an instrumentalist, there is a huge role that the tabla player plays. And it is not just the role of timekeeper.
Right.
It is also not just the role of the interlude player, the guy who plays the little interlude, which then is a brief, a brief relief from the main story. You know, there is genuine give and take. There is genuine back and forth, and you are feeding off each other. The energies are feeding off each other. So the concert will inevitably be on a level if the tabla player is fantastic, and it will be on a completely different level if the tabla player is even medium level, not bad. There's a huge difference. Right. So if there is so much difference, there is so much that the tabla player being good contributes, then the tabla player would have had to really learn incredibly well and hard and practice incredibly well and hard, have to have understood aesthetics to a refined level. Only then that level of playing can happen.
Right.
If that is what is required for a great concert, how can one even think of not putting the name of the person on the invite? It's ridiculous, you know. It is demeaning not just to the tabla player. It is demeaning to the artist who he or she is playing with. It is demeaning for the organization. It is demeaning for everybody that you didn't do right. If you're not doing right by something which is so obviously right, then you know, the system is really flawed.
What do you
That
think about
is
size
not a.
difference?
All right, so I'm a little more open there because if there is a remarkable difference in the seniority of a musician or the or uh, the star value of a musician, if that exists between the say the sarod player or and the tabla player,
right,
then the font size may differ. If I when I was playing with Pandit Ravi Shankar ji, I wouldn't even expect my name to be the size of his name. That's ridiculous to expect, because look at the man's contribution, look at where he's come from, and where I was just a beginner, you know, compared to him. Then that is being unreasonable. But of course, I want my name to be there. Right. So that's where I'm coming from. Again, it's a very practical standpoint, not asking anybody for favors, whatever. I also feel that the tabla players should also protest more.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You know, because if you get stuck in the rigmarole of, I got to please this person, and if I don't please this person, I cannot make a career, and I'm not going to protest. You know, I have always protested. Every time I have not liked something, I've protested. And I've made a career. I've made a good career, touch wood, blessings of my gurus and Almighty. I've made a good career. And
why do you think that tabla players aren't protesting enough? What is the reason? What are the reasons they're not?
Fear.
Fear of what? This is what I've been trying to understand.
Fear of rejection, fear of not being taken for the next concert, fear of not being booked by that. You don't want to rub some.
So where does this cycle start? Has this been started by these main artists who have said that if you question me, I will not take you? Or has it started by these tabla players who have said, I'm not going to question them because they're main artists? Where does it start? Or does it even have a starting point? Because it's just now gotten into
completely chicken egg. I can tell you this, that I didn't think where it started. I started protesting from day one. And I am still playing with those same artists after a good 30 years. And I'm great friends with them. Great friends. Anybody you ask, they know that I'm their buddy. I'm a good guy to be, you know, I'm a good friend. And they've been great friends with me. If I said, oh, why am I not? You don't pick a fight every time. You don't need to do that. You don't have to kind of go, no, you can just say, look, do you not think it's fair to have my name there? Put the onus on them, you know. Do you not fair? And of course, they do say, they've always said to me, yes, I think your name should be there. So I would politely request then, be it the organizer, be it the artist you're playing with, I will politely ask, will you please see to it that next time it's there? And then there are genuinely times when it's an overlook and something has happened which was beyond somebody's control. You got to be reasonable about that also. Accept it, but point it out.
Fine,
exactly. I've noticed it. I didn't feel great about it, but I understand that this was why it happened, and I'm okay with it. But do try and see that it doesn't happen the next time. So that's all. That's all it takes, you know. And everybody's reasonable. They're not monsters out there.
We've got a question
buddies and friends.
We've got a question from Mayuk Bhomik.
He's saying, Mayuk Babu.
He says, how about sitting at the side as a tabla player? A drummer is never called an accompanying artist. He's called the drummer. That's his question.
Okay, so that's two questions actually. Sitting at the side, well, the drummer sits at the back. You consider the side. For me, it is not sitting at the side or that which is really a huge thing, because let us look at one fact. Who chooses the rag of the performance?
Interesting.
You tell me.
The sarod player or the sitar player or the vocalist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who chooses the tal?
Also them.
All right. So the plan setter is that person.
Right.
The person who sets the plan. This is what's going to happen. Of course, you can have a say in it and all of that. But that person sets the plan.
Yeah.
So there is a little more level of the power equation being tilted there. And there's nothing unfair about it. That is absolutely fine. That's the way it's meant to be. So then in that sense, you are not on absolutely equal footing. Because if you're, it's like when the tabla player is playing solo, then what does the sarangi player do?
Right. Yeah.
So there is it is not equal power on stage or equal, you have the control over the rag, this, that, all of that. I mean, that's not the case. All I think is necessary is create an atmosphere of camaraderie. Both people must do it. They must be able to feel the faith in each other. That this person will help my music and I will help this person's music. Because at the end of the day, there is no invisible net between the sarod player and the tabla player. You're not playing on opposite sides.
Yeah.
You are both playing on the same side to win the game. And what is winning the game is to play a beautiful concert which you enjoy and the audience enjoys.
Absolutely.
So if that is the mindset you are coming on board with, and if the hierarchy, be it if you're on the lower end of the hierarchy or you're on the higher end of the hierarchy, if that exists in your mind, in either person's mind, it cannot benefit the concert. It cannot.
Also, from
the
please.
only thing that will make a difference is the understanding of aesthetics. That is a game changer. It is not the hierarchy. It is, if I am a good tabla player, I will know yahan mujhe bajana nahi hai, yahan mujhe soft karna hai, yahan theka chahiye. That sensibility of aesthetics, you're seeing that your buddy on the sarod is rocking. He's just, smashing goal after goal. You don't want to thwart him at that point or her. You help the person. You give the theka in a way where it accentuates the right points and let him fly. Then he or she must do the same for you. When you are playing, so that you get a good, nice, solid gut, nicely nuanced in terms of the volume and the modulation of the gut, helping your aesthetics. This is it. This is Sat Sangat. It's not just Sangat. Sat Sangat. It is something that both people do. And I feel, I don't know, I feel really lucky that all the people I play with, I mean, I've played with pretty much everybody that I was playing with at the age of 22. I am playing with at the age of 53. I mean, all of these people are still my friends and we do incredible concerts together. And I think they love me for my being upfront. And I do not pick a fight. Don't get me wrong. I don't go and, pick a fight. I just tell them that you're my buddy. You can do this,
Why
That's all.
did you? I might be wrong, but whatever I've observed of your videos or when I've seen you perform, you sit. You kind of started sitting facing the audience. So a lot of tabla players are seen facing the artist, mostly kind of in a slant position. Why did you decide to do that? What was the kind of things you thought of when you decided that you were going to start facing the front?
Let me just correct you a bit there.
Yes, please.
I tend to sit at a bit of an angle, a bit.
Yes, you do. You do.
Yeah. I don't sit like this.
No, you're like a bit
like this. A bit. There's a bit diagonal. So now I feel that the one thing I don't like doing very much, unless it is something that if I'm playing with somebody who is so much my senior, like a god, there I'm a shagird. Then my body language will be like that, and then maybe I will sit like that, like with Guruji Pandit Ravi Shankar ji, I used to sit like that, and the difference between him and me was so huge.
Right.
I wanted to find any single way that I could offer homage to him. That was my mindset with him. But I don't otherwise do it. And nowadays I don't like to sit at 90 degrees like this. Because I feel that while, of course, I have a responsibility towards to the artist that I'm playing with, I also have a responsibility to the audience. And the audience does want to see what my eyes look like when I'm playing.
Right.
They might want to see the nuanced expression on my face. Maybe nobody cares, but I like to think that they want to,
Sorry, if I can just interrupt you, because I just thought of something. You said that with people or with artists who are of that level or of that stature, why can you not sit facing the front slightly slanted with them? Why do you have to completely face them like that? Why do you feel that?
I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
If there is a okay. So if your father tells you to do something, and or he doesn't tell you to do it, but you feel that the energy exchange between you and your father will be better if you do something,
right?
Then the smart thing to do is to do it. Because you will gain more from your father. Because if your father's ego is comfortable, it consistently happens with parents and children. I have it. It happens to me. I'm like in shock. I always thought it never happened to me, but it happens to me. So if I want to, if like with my father, if I would feel that a certain small thing that I did would make him be more giving towards me, would make our exchange, our energies more synergized, I would do it. But no, I will not do it when I don't think that it is necessary, because if it is coming simply from kind of, I don't know, just ego, then no, I wouldn't do it. So I don't do it most of the time. I wouldn't do it really. And nowadays I don't. But I will sit at a tiny angle because it makes me comfortable. How does it make me comfortable? Because I can see the artist a little better. If the artist is sitting like this and I'm like this, then I have to turn my head around like this.
Communication.
So a bit of an angle. Yeah. Communication is good. And I have not had any problem anywhere, anybody telling me, especially now, that's not there. But as I said in the beginning of this conversation, every person must have courage to politely put your point across. That needs to be done.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. I think this topic is important to discuss, because the last time I discussed it, there were people who were like, why are you talking about it for so long? And that's instantly where I was like, whoa, people think this shouldn't be spoken about. That in itself is a bit of a alarm for me.
No, because people don't know. People don't know what it means, and why it is important for the journey of the role of tabla / the tabla player. Because the tabla player is really contributing to a concert. And if the tabla player is happy while doing it, unless the tabla player has a completely warped sense of aesthetics, which is also the case sometimes, then the person will not do something which is a top-end tabla player will be happy when he or she is given a certain amount of respect and some
Exactly.
waba, some,
Yeah.
whatever, then that makes the person happy. And if you're happy, you become more proactive. You are able to give more to a situation. Why
Mm,
just a concert, to a relationship, to anything? So
mm.
that is a good way for a concert to be a positive experience for the players and for the
Yeah.
audience. Let's
Yeah.
keep each other happy. Let's have fun. We backstage, we have a lot of fun. We chat, we joke, and then we go on stage. And even on stage, we would crack jokes, and you know whoever it is. So
Yeah.
that has come to be now. And in my generation, I'm really proud and happy to say that this is not my doing alone. This is the people I've played with
Mm,
them having the courage to do things as well. Them having the courage to, okay, Bickram, you play now. Play,
mm.
play like a king today, huh? So they push you, then it happens. But if you feel it, that's not happening. If you feel you're getting a negative vibe, then put your point across, and
Mm.
vice versa. If the artist who you're playing with also feels a negative vibe for whatever reason, that too, I've seen that happen also.
But have a
Tabla,
conversation, basically.
yeah, have a conversation.
Yeah.
Get it, put it behind you. The
Yeah.
music is more important. It's not all
Mm.
this. This is, what is this?
Yeah. Thank you. I have so many questions in my head, but there's a very important one, which I think I should ask, which is the financial stability of an Indian classical musician or dancer, which is obviously very, very important to discuss, especially now because of this pandemic and the situations that artists are in.
Yeah.
Do you feel that just being an Indian classical musician or dancer can make you financially stable? And what are the other things that you need to do other than your music to make yourself financially stable?
So I have a counter question.
Yes.
So Tata has made a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Does it only sell cars?
No.
Is it only a tea brand?
Mm-mm.
If you want to make money, I am not saying you must make money. You
Right.
can choose not to make money. You can choose not to be at X level financially. Absolutely fine. There is no controversy there. I know many artists, many friends of mine who don't need any more. They're happy with what they have, which
Right.
is absolutely fine. But if you want to make more money, then expand your horizons, because you will then have to do other things as well. And I have never done anything else professionally other than music.
Right.
Nothing else. I've not done any business. I've not done this, that. No. It has to be with music, and anything I do has a tabla role in it. Even if I'm scoring for a completely, like a blockbuster commercial film, I will put tabla into it. So that is who I see myself as. And I do, but mind you, I did not come to the thought of making money from the idea that I want to make money.
Right. Okay.
I came to it because I wanted to expand my horizons. Very simply put, I felt I had more capabilities. I could play classical music to a certain level, which was top notch, and everybody wanted to play with me. I was extremely happy with that success. But I thought there were other vistas to explore also.
Right.
I want to do that. I mean, just because you're a dancer, it doesn't stop you from singing.
No.
Why will you not sing? If I can sing, I will sing, na? So that, then I thought I could make a different sound. I could create something different, which will be experimental. I could innovate. I wanted to do those things. So I started doing those things. And then it ended up in something which was really, I never thought that what I did in the, for want of a better name, in the fusion arena would become so popular. People would like what I did so much. It was just I wanted to play around with the sound and let's see where it goes. I never realized that I would be earning a large part of my income from there today. And it would be something that people would identify me with, a new sound, a certain kind of structure in music, a tabla kit, so to say.
Right.
So I never thought that that's going to happen. I did hope something like that happened, but it did happen, and that is a blessing. That is nothing short of a blessing. that it did pan out the way it did pan out. But of course, I think if you have it in you, if you have the desire, then follow the desire, train yourself. My fusion work didn't happen out without any training. I had to research sound. I had to do so much of work for years to get that into the place that it came into, And when you put in that kind of hard work in anything, normally the cosmos sees that some kind of dividends come from it. I mean, and that's not monetarily speaking. It's that you get better at it.
Right.
So I think that's it. I mean, I started thinking like that, and then that happened, and then a certain amount of money followed. And great, I wasn't complaining.
What about those who maybe don't have that ability, and who only want to stick to the Indian classical music side of things, but they're seeing a pattern of not a lot of money coming in, and they're struggling to keep up their lifestyle? What would you say to those people? Because there's a lot of people like that right now in this situation that we're
all right. So here I'm going to throw a third party in.
Yeah.
Third party is, I think, in every country where there is classical and folk art, there has to be an infrastructure from the government to support these artists, to support research, to support these artists when times are bad. Times are bad like now, or why just that? Even when concerts are less, the rainy season, somebody doesn't have, a lot of classical artists have the ability and the contacts and the renown to go abroad during the summers and perform and earn money.
Right.
Some don't. So there should be a plan for them, because I think classical artists are doing an incredible service. We are hanging on to our culture, and it is an incredibly tough task. You have to practice how many hours a day to get to a basic level of competence. If that is how much hard work is put in, then at least have a plan for these people. Right. Let them, when they don't have any money, let's see what can be done. Why should it be that only other artists will then pull in? There has to be a plan, a proper plan. And I think that is what every government has to look at. We must support the artists, the folk musicians as well, and the classical musicians. And otherwise, people will not want to be musicians. And they'll say, okay, chalo, एक घंटा रियाज करते हैं और बाकी ऑफिस में काम करते हैं.
The reason I asked you this question is because of this show I've been doing, I've been speaking to a lot of people who won't usually speak out about things like this. They message me, and there's a lot of people who are like, I just want to do Hindustani vocal, or I just want to do Kathak, or I just want to do tabla, but the problem is I don't get any money from it. There's no monthly kind of income that I'm getting from this. So they start to feel that they need to venture into other things that maybe they don't have a knack in, right? They don't have a talent in, they don't have interest in, but they feel if I go into that, it'll generate more money. And so then that kind of pushes artists into doing things that they're not good at, but they're doing it because they're going to earn money.
Nevertheless, I agree. No, I would say another avenue, of course, has always been there, which is teaching. Getting a good teaching apparatus going is a good fallback plan. And it's important because you're serving society as well. And nowadays, with the online opening up the way it has, I mean, look at us having a conversation sitting where? I mean, so far away and seamlessly having a chat,
Yes.
And so I would say use the technology and set up a good plan whereby you can use your social media, promote yourself, and teach, and I think a lot of people are very good teachers, a lot of people. And they can, if you have some skill of communication, then get it going in any profession, any business. I'm saying any business, because this is a business, You are not a salaried individual. You are self-employed, and you have to build a world around you which supports your work and your talent.
Right.
So you have to have certain things in place for that. And if teaching is one of them, then get it in place. because you need your fallback plan. If you're not getting concerts in a certain month, then your fallback plan is there. And but I would really stress on, governmental agencies really supporting the arts and classical arts, folk arts, and also the corporates. There should be more involvement, to supporting the arts, not just booking the famous artists time and again.
Exactly.
Because that is a two-way traffic. We are going and playing for you, you're paying us. It's two-way traffic. You're taking selfies with us. Done.
Yeah.
Sorted. So, but what about those people who you can help to create a better tomorrow where this incredible culture is concerned? Look at the culture. It is such a rich culture. I'm awestruck by it all my life, 24 hours a day. So that, if you can support, then you're doing a fantastic job. And we should try to encourage people to do that.
Thank you. That's
no
really...
begging bowls, mind you. No begging bowls. I don't believe in begging bowls. I'm like, no, I'm not going to go. Please, sir, do something for the arts. We don't get any food. Don't get. No. We go with our head held high. We go up to them and say, look, you love this country. You love this culture. Do something about it. Your work will go a long way.
Yeah. Really, these are really important points. There's a lot of comments and questions coming in. Chayan Chattaraj is saying, how different music really is in your experience producing great classical music as solo artist or sangat with Pandit Ravi Shankar, and producing fusion music or loading with Bollywood, Sonu Nigam recently, and Tollywood music, including the rap music you did fairly recently. How different is that?
It's all very different. I see myself kind of like I have different avatars, and I enjoy it. I enjoy all the avatars. I think you enjoy it too, your own avatars. I see that in you. You have that spark of doing this and that and that and that. And there's something in you which tells you that I can do it. If I try hard enough, of course. I put enough work into it, But so I think I don't come from a mindset that I can't do something. I come from a mindset that I can do it, but I have to work for it. And then I train myself. So if I'm doing something, I will give myself a period of training. So when let me give you a very concrete classical example.
Yes, please.
I come from the Farrukhabad style of playing. My father comes from Farrukhabad Gharana. A lot of people say that there are nuances of Banaras in my playing. Some say that I have nuances of Punjab also. Now, all these influences are consciously brought into my playing. These are things I worked on. I wanted to play with certain artists, and I realized their trajectory, and I saw that they enjoyed playing more with Banaras Gharana artists. They liked the style of playing, the flamboyance, the sound, the modulation. They liked that, and they felt it fit better with the music than another Gharana or another style. So I wanted to be that person who would fit with that person.
Right.
So then I started listening to Banaras Gharana cassettes those days. We are the cassette generation. Our parents were the LPs.
Yeah.
So I started listening to cassettes, and a lot of cassettes. I used to listen to every artist, from Pandit Krishna Maharaj ji to Kumarda, to even my contemporary Sukhvinder, Pinky and I had that conversation also. He was like, "Arey, Bickram bhai, aapne to wo pura mera wo uthan le liya." I said, "Yeah, I heard your cassette and I thought ye bada acha hai, main bajata hu ye." So I started doing that. I started practicing Kulabaj, and lo and behold, I saw a lot of artists started booking me who I wanted to play with. And they were like, "Yeah, Bickram play usme hai wo thoda Banarsi mamla hai," but wo Banarsi mamla was brought in consciously. So it is the same energy which today, if I want to do a rap song, or if I want to do a totally out and out commercial film score for that, I bring the same ambition and curiosity level to the table. I'm curious, very curious as a person. I will want, and the most curious person I've ever seen in my life was Pandit Ravi Shankar. Guruji was so curious, everything he wanted to know. Every single thing he had to know it. So maybe I've imbibed some of that from him, living with him for so many years. I do feel that I want to do more things and know more things. So both are, you have to know more to do more. So for me, there is a different avatar. If you see my body language, you see what I do. When I did this rap song in Bangla, which became a big hit in Bengal. And I'm trying to be this rap guy, I don't think that I'm this 53-year-old man wearing a leather jacket and it's going to look cheesy. No, I don't think like that. I'm like, don't make it cheesy. Fix it. Make it look good, So what do I have to do? Then I see the rappers and I see it. So I realize I don't want to do all that hand language and all, I want to have my individuality as well, but I want to push that line. I want to give it an energy. The energy is what I'm bringing to the table. I'm not copying somebody. I'm not kind of using the same body language. The same thing is with film composition. And Mayuk's watching the program. Mayuk is a wonderful film composer as well. I mean, he does that. He got a national award for it as well. So that I think is a skill set you develop, and it's hard work again. You listen to a lot of music and films. You understand what the aesthetics of cinema is, and then you start doing it. And I was shocked just a few months back. I counted and I realized I had done music for 36 feature films. I thought it was in the range of 15, 16. I started counting and it just went on. When it crossed 30, I was like, are you serious? So it's like that, when you put your heart and soul into something, it moves. It doesn't stand still.
Thank you. Thank you, Choyan Chatraj, for asking that question, because I think a lot of people wanted to know how you approach your different fields of work.
I'll just add one more line to that, because then it'll help them as well. Because when I think of the work at hand, I completely forget the other avatars. I do not bring to the table my experiences as a tabla player. I will draw from the aesthetic bank of that if required. But if it's not required, I will not go there. I will do something completely different. So it can be electronica, full-on electronica happening, and not a sound of classical instrument if the script requires that. So I don't bring those parts of myself to the table, and all the paraphernalia that comes with those selves, including ego, including hurt, including the backstory of what happened and all. I try to keep a clean slate and come to the table with just the work at hand. And I think that really helps me to do a good job with whatever I'm doing.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I want to ask you one last question before we take a few from the audience. I want to talk about dance, because obviously I'm a dancer. I'm curious about things like this. Why do you feel, I've asked this before, why do you feel our generation of tabla players, so for example, Unmesh is watching, he's played with me, he's actually the only young tabla player in our generation who has even made an effort to understand dance, according to me. Why do you feel they are not interested, or they don't show the interest in playing with dance? Why do they have such less knowledge about this art form? Because I see this continuously, musicians or even tabla players, and I understand that dancers are also at fault. I mean, I can speak a little bit about that, but I wanted to know from you, from a tabla player's perspective, has dance been a kind of thing that tabla players have been taught to stay away from a little bit? Has that been a thing? Are there a few rumors about dance bajale hat kharap hoye jabe type of thing? Because I've heard that there is, and I wanted to know your opinion and your thoughts on that.
Right. So I'm one of the few tabla players who, for a fair bit of time in my career, early part of my career especially, I played a lot of dance. A lot. I played a lot with Chitrish Kaka. I played a lot with my generation, Madhumita, Jayanti, a lot of dancers. And I was known in my generation, the early years, to be one of the very few who was playing dance. And why was I playing dance? Okay, so personally, I was playing dance because I saw my father play dance. And my father used to play incredibly well with dance. Unbelievable concerts I've seen of him with Sitara Devi. I've seen as a child, I've seen that. I've seen him play with, of course, with Chitrish Kaka, a lot of dancers. And he was with Malubika Mitro, and
Yes.
many people. I've seen him play with all of these people, and incredibly. Your father will vouch for the kind of concerts Baba used to do with the dancers. So I was attracted to that. I thought it was a very interesting form and a completely different skill set required, which again, my curiosity was, I'm a curious person, as I said, and I wanted to know what this is about. So I got into that space and I started playing dance, and I was good at it. And a lot of people started taking me for their shows, and I was enjoying it also. Up until the time when I started playing with Guruji Pandit Ravi Shankar ji, and then I was pretty much playing with him most of the time, because it was he kept one so busy that kind of became less. But I played recently, like a year back, again with Rajendra Gangani Bhai. I played with Vishal Krishna in one concert, and I realized that this is a skill set I have. I know how to do this, and they also realized that. So now, the one thing that I have a complaint for the dancers. That's from the standpoint of the dancers.
Yes, yes.
Is that I miss the whole kind of the free flow upaj that I used to see for my father play with no rehearsal, going on stage and coming together on the song like that. Are kaise ho raha hai? Brilliant. I mean, I've seen Zakir ji do it with Maharaj ji. I know for a fact that they had just met and they were going on stage and playing it so perfectly, So that is what I miss. I'm the kind of guy who likes a challenge. If you give me a challenge, I will enjoy that moment, So I don't like all the ratawa stuff going on, Okay, now I'm going to. So I have had experiences where a dancer has given me 16 compositions to learn for the concert. I'm like, why? Then I'm going to give you some of mine, and then you learn 8 and I learn 8. That's kind of but I'm like, why not just go for it on stage? Then a lot of the dancers will come with their regular accompanists also.
Yes.
Even if another top tabla player is playing, they will have another regular guy to be the kind of the fault. If something happens, he's going to help, So like the lifeline, So I find that to be a little kind of, that's not fun.
No,
so let's have the challenge back in the equation. And why tabla players don't play much dance nowadays? I think it's a skill set which has to be honed. And it's the responsibility of both the dancer and the tabla player to play with each other, to make it fun. So the tabla player also has to learn a certain amount of dance playing. Kaise bajate hain? What are the, if you are dancing Gadbhav, what is the kind of weight modulation that is necessary? Is it the same weight modulation that you use in a Santoor concert? No.
Exactly.
So those things need to be learned, and that is another skill set. So a lot of people avoid that. And whenever you avoid something because you think it's hard work, you start finding excuses. Then you say, oh, haath bhari ho jabe. My hand will become heavy. But I would say that if you're pitoing all the time, bang, 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 then haath bhari ho jabe. Yes. But why? It's not necessary. I mean it can also...
Yeah, the reason I asked this question is because a lot of dancers I think a lot of dancers are at fault because of exactly what you said. They will not play with a tabla player unless he or she comes to their class, sits with them for hours on end, and goes through the compositions and knows them bowl by bowl.
This has become a bit of a trend in everything nowadays, I mean, this is not, this is not my quote, this is my father's. And Baba used to always say that in his time, an instrumentalist, a dancer, a vocalist would come from for example, Ahmedabad, and he would go from Calcutta, and they would meet in Delhi, and they would just play together. But nowadays, it has become a norm that somebody you are practicing with, rehearsing with regularly becomes your comfort zone. But then what you lose out in that scenario is the audience loses out on the energy of challenge.
Absolutely.
And when the audience loses out on something, then the entire music, classical music is at stake, because they're not going to go and see it, because they don't feel it's fun enough. Because what is rehearsed can be fun. I'm not saying that it's not, but I personally miss the energy of that challenge. Like, I'll give you an example, instrumentalist. I'll leave my father out of it also, or why not? Pandit Ravi Shankar, Pandit Kishan Maharaj ji. Aren't you going to go and watch that concert? Of course you are. Ustad Ali Akbar Khan Sahab, Pandit Shankar Ghosh. You will not go to that concert? Of course you will. The personalities, the two great artists, two personalities, two great artists coming together. There is a challenge which is always there. A healthy, beautiful challenge. The audience wants to see that. And if all the time it is looking as if it's rehearsed, then you lose the zing in it.
And I think that's why dancers also don't have that mentality of taking on a challenge, because they're always dancing with the same tabla players, always dancing with the same musicians. And we always want, and I'm going to say we, because I think we're a community, and I don't want to just keep blaming other people. I think we as a community are you come to my class, you sit and you do my compositions, and you do them until you know them off by heart, which is a really, really sad thing. But I also see a lot of young tabla players, obviously there are exceptions, who have actually said to me that I'm not going to play dance now because aaj bajale haath kharab ho jaye, which is really sad for a dancer like me, at least, because I want to open my doors to playing, to dancing.
So you should ask them, kotota bajale haath kharab hoy?
Exactly.
You're not saying that you play dance every day. Twice a day. You're going to be playing a dance concert. 1 out of 5 concerts is dance. Why not even that?
I've asked this question.
I don't see the logic in it, frankly. I think it's just, you don't want to do your
escaping
homework.
From hard work.
Escaping from hard work,
Yeah, I think that's covered that question. And I think people need to hear that, because that's very important. I want to ask you one last question before we kind of end it for today, which is, what are the criticisms that you've faced when you kind of stopped playing in the classical world?
Let me start from the beginning. Then if you ask me that question, I will answer it honestly and right from the beginning.
Yes, please.
First criticism, baper moto hoin. First. That was the first shocker. Came into the profession and everybody was saying, Shankar Ghosh's son is playing well. Not like Shankar Ghosh. So I had this conversation with my father. And I said, Baba, what am I supposed to do? How can I play like you? Then he said, you're being silly. You're playing all my things. All the things I'm known for. And anybody who has heard me playing those things are attached to me, the way I play it, and the sound I create when I play it. They will never be attached to what you're doing with the same thing. They will think, and it never was as good as him, in all honesty. So he told me, change your style. Play different composition. So I was playing Dhada Gegna, Ding Dana Gegna, and he had popularized it. Then I shifted to playing more different compositions. It could be a Dhada Gegna Gegna, Dhada Gegna Tuna Gegna, or it would have been Kram Dhada Gegna things. Things that, or a Katta Dhete, which became kind of my hallmark.
Right.
You have to create your own hallmarks. And then I was bringing in the South influence, and I was changing my sound. I was doing more Gumki on the Baya, getting a little bit of Banaras, a little bit of Punjab. And then I realized suddenly that I was playing my kind of style, Of course, I'm not being kind of, haughty here by saying my kind of style. My style is a offshoot of all these other influences, and primarily like 80% of it is my father. But I'm disguising that, because if I'm blatant about it, people will say, copy, Babar copy. And then you will never get a good review. So once I started doing that, that got fixed. All right. Flash forward, good 20 years or 15. When I started doing fusion work, humongous criticism. And I knew it was going to happen. I knew it was going to happen. So I'm the only tabla player who took a hiatus from classical tabla playing.
Yeah.
So I didn't play, practically didn't play professional classical concerts for a good 5-6 years. So that's a conversation for another day. But to come to your point, I was heavily criticized because I had a great track record. I had played with Pandit Ravi Shankar, I had played with Alibur Khan Sahab, Amjad Ali Khan Sahab, Pandit Shiv Kumar Sharma ji, and every other artist who one can think of. I had played with everybody.
Right.
And dance and vocal and everything, and everybody. I was on the A-list of every single artist. They all wanted Bickram to play. 1, 2, 3 choices, one of them was Bickram. So that was there. From there, being this kind of classical tabla star, to suddenly the one thing that became like an emblem for them was the cheek playing.
Right. Yeah.
They were like, oh my God, from there to there. Now, this is hierarchy speaking. Everything is in people's heads. They think it is a fall or a lift. It's not a paradigm. Why not a paradigm shift? Why not I'm here on the same plane, but I'm here now. So that was criticized. And I knew it would be. But I wanted to be I wanted to push the line. I wanted to wear the leathers. I wanted to wear all the jewelry and the beads and stuff, and the hippie look and the lens glasses and the goatee. I've been told that I'm the first Indian classical tabla player to known tabla player to keep a goatee. So I was heavily discouraged by Pandit Ravi Shankar ji to keep it. He said, it's just not done. But then Chinnamma and Anushka came to my rescue. They said, no, Vicky looks good. Let her. So I was able to keep the goatee. But I wanted to push the line, and I wanted to see where I could go as a person and how I would grow as a person by changing my avatar. But I have never been that avatar in a classical concert. Never. Right. Anybody who's played with me, anybody who's seen me on stage in a classical concert knows that I don't overlap the lines. I will never suddenly start playing my cheek in the middle of a classical concert. I'm not stupid, I'm not going to do something silly. But I can do that. And there have been classical concerts where people have shouted from the audience, a little bit of this. So some person who is a fan of my fusion has come to the concert and will say something like that. But then you don't indulge it. You say, no, this is a different world. We are doing something else here. You want to watch that, you go to that concert. So yes, I was heavily criticized. And even, people saying, oh, he plays his cheeks and his body and that's what he does. And interestingly, forgetting that I had played A-level tabla for 15 years before that. And I had played with everybody and the topmost in the business. So suddenly, how would I suddenly lose my skill set? My skill set hadn't got anywhere. I was just doing something else. So you don't need to compare it with that. But it was all okay because it's still okay with me because I knew that was going to happen. That's how people are. And they want to box you into a little space and see that you stick in that space, It's not comfortable to suddenly see, oh, this person doing this and that, also that and that and that. That becomes too much to handle,
Right.
So I understood that. I knew that was going to happen. And I kind of enjoyed it also. So, okay, he's the bad boy. Let me be the bad boy. So, but interestingly, nowadays I see many of the same people, many of the kids, they're at least trying to do the same thing that I did 20 years back or I'm still doing. And now it's less criticized. Now it's like, okay, it's अच्छा कर रहा है. sahi hai. But if you're doing it in early days and everything is criticized, it's not just me. I'm no Hati Ghoda that I'm only be one person criticized. Ustad Zakir Hussain was criticized. My father was criticized. When Ravi Shankar ji was criticized, everybody was criticized. When they were doing anything that was considered to be a little out of the way in their thinking, because they thought they could do it, they were criticized. This is the way human history develops. And I'm okay with it. I am now. I think I'm much more accepted in all the avatars. They say, "Oh, Bickram is, in his fusion concert also is so good." Nowadays, that is happening, but it's been a long wait, and I've had to get the same fans back from the '90s, into my current. Now I'm playing a lot of classical again, so they now come and say, "Oh, wow, he plays a 9-beat. I played a Namatra tabla solo for you guys in London.
Yes,
and
you did,
breaking it 4.5, not easy. So did that, and then I go and play my cheek somewhere also, which then somebody says is a fall from grace. From 4.5 matra se wo gaal baja rahe hain. Ye kya hua? I mean, let's not confuse the skill set. I mean, I really like Shankar Mahadevan. I think Shankar Bhai is a great example. He can go on stage and sing a Pallavi with such ease and do some great, korvais in his singing. And then he will go and sing a Bollywood song, which is totally must, Why not? If you can do it, why not? It's not easy to do.
No, absolutely. Last question. I was going to make this the last question, but another question is just coming to my head. Do you think there's a lack of unity in our community? I asked this again because I'll give a very small example of this. Maybe this is not exactly unity, but I think people refrain from calling what's good because it comes back to fear. There's been a lot of people messaging me about this show. I did it purely because I'm just ambitious about talking about these things, and I'm passionate, and I think it should be spoken about. The response I've gotten has been very private because people don't want to say it out loud, and they've been messaging me. And a lot of senior people have called, my dad, or they've messaged me and said, "Oh, it's so good what you're doing," but they're never gonna speak out about these issues on their own, which I think is a problem, because especially in my generation, there's a lot of girls and boys who have these questions, but they can't ask someone like you because maybe they don't have that accessibility to you, right, that I have. And I'm very privileged to have that. And that unity is really missing. I see so many people, I'm getting criticized for speaking out, and that's fine. I don't mind that. I think that's okay. And I think there are only select few people who can do that, or maybe should do that. I don't know. Why do you think even senior artists cannot come on a show and speak as honestly as we have spoken today? Because I've seen very, very few Indian classical musicians or dancers, senior or junior, actually, coming on a show, firstly being asked questions like this, and secondly, even being remotely honest, because everything is always about, oh, music is spiritual, and I do 8 ghante ka sadhana, and that's where it stops, and my journey is this. But we never actually get to discussing the relevant stuff. Why do you think that's happening? And what can we as this generation do to be vocal but also be good at what we're doing?
All right, so two things.
Yes.
One is fear, as you correctly said. Fear of stepping out of line in a profession where you've been comfortably in the line. And two is habit. Habit is a dangerous thing. So if you made a habit of speaking in a certain way, you've got set responses to things. Then that comes to the forefront.
Right.
Even if you have questioning inside you, even if you feel that maybe this is not quite true, you still go for the habitual response. So I think for me, I have always tried to kind of be honest with whatever it is, and whatever I believe in, whatever I think, and I never think that somebody else should have the same thoughts that I have. because of course you don't have the same thoughts. Nobody has the same thoughts. I mean, you can,
Right.
to each his own, but if a young artist, I mean, be it a Mayuk or even younger, and Unmesh, if they ask me, I will give them a straight answer. I will give them a straight answer. And I will not do that because I think I'm this great messiah of the truth or something. No, I simply think that it'll help them. And I was not getting straight answers. So I groped in the dark for a long time. And then I found my way. And then I saw a lot of straight answers coming towards me because I was ready for the straight answers also. You also have to be ready for it. As you can, everybody is in a comfort zone. Everybody is sitting in their comfort zone, comfort zone A, comfort zone B, C, D, Z, So from there to move, to shift, it's not easy. And I think if you are likable as a person, if they know your intentions, if they know you're a good person, I'm not going to the ethical and moral space. I'm saying good as in you're just nice to people. You're just easy to be with, You're not creating mayhem everywhere. Or you're not giving off a vibe that, there's something else going on behind and what I'm saying is not what I mean, People have been my friends for ages. I mean, ask your parents. I mean, your mother's my sister, but they're friends also. They've been for donkey's years. Why are they my friends? Why are these youngsters my friends? Why is Mayuk my friend? Why is Unmesh, even younger, my friend? Because I say what I feel and what I think, and I always say that this is not sacrosanct. This is not the truth. This is my truth. And I see it this way. And I think people get that vibe from me. People know that I'm genuine, that I am their friend. I will them well, whoever it be. I will them well. Even if I feel a tinge of jealousy, which everybody feels, I will not act upon it. I will sit on it and control it and not act upon it. So that I think people get, and they like me for that. They love me for that, and I love them back. And there's an ecosystem that is created where the insecurities are low. I have less insecurities, the other person has less insecurities, and you depend on each other comfortably. That ecosystem is very important, and it has to be started by you if you want it to happen. Exactly. You, the individual, has to start behaving in a certain way. That you put your point across. No, I didn't like this, but I know it's okay, and I know you didn't mean it, but I didn't like it. So can we not try and do this next time?
Yeah.
I mean, little things. You can change it. It's possible. I've done it. I've changed a lot of things, and some things I have not been able to change. Those were never meant to change. Some relationships were not meant to happen. They have not happened, and it's okay. You have to accept it. I mean, Ram Gopal Verma and Amir Khan are not going to work together. Right. What to do? But great what they did together, right? I mean, Rangila was such a funky film,
Yeah. Thank you. The really amazing conversation, really great questions as well. Thank you for being here and answering so honestly and candidly. I think it's important that people see that, we're able to have candid conversations. And
well, I'm just going to say a word for you that pretty gutsy at your age. I like it. I actually congratulated your dad the other day for you being gutsy. I should have said the same to your mom also. But because Raju was a friend and we were talking about it, and I said, hey, man, you must have done something for her to think in a certain way. I'm not saying that, I'm not saying that all you will end up doing in life will be right and wrong. I'm just saying the fact that you're questioning something. I like that. Question everything. It is the way we are meant to be. In this universe, we are born, we come into this world, we must question. Otherwise, how will we know?
Definitely,
and if you don't question,
the way that they've brought me up, and I think because I've seen the community from two different angles. That's also I'm very privileged. I say this on every episode that I'm privileged because I live outside India, and even living outside, they have given me the ambience and the atmosphere of being in Indian culture the whole time, which has been massive in my life, and which is why I do the music that that I want to do. But when I go there, I also get to see that world, which is
one more question for you.
Yes.
Why, after having threatened to call me Bumba Mamu, you never called me Bumba Mamu throughout the show once?
Because I'll tell you, the first thing is I've realized this about myself for all the episodes. I've hardly called anybody by their name. Even I haven't even said, like, for example, if I called Prerna ji last time, I didn't even say Prerna auntie. I said it like once maybe. I just...
Because are you scared to kind of call them something and them not quite being comfortable with it?
No, I think that I just try to keep it as neutral as possible. I mean, I think if I call you, especially with the Bumba Mamu situation, if I start calling you Bumba Mamu now, they'll be like, oh, she's... Because I've had this. People have been like, why are you not questioning this person as much? Is it because you know them personally? Is it because... And it's better in a conversation to keep it neutral. People know anyways you're my mamu and that my mom is your sister. I don't think I need to reiterate that, for people to... And I just think that it's a neutral conversation is a neutral conversation. And
good. I just wanted to ask you, sir. I just wanted to ask you a couple of questions because it was getting lopsided.
No. and I think it's great that people know you as Maestro Bickram Ghosh on any show rather than my mamu or anyone. So that's great. But thank you for coming on.
That was good fun. I enjoyed the questions you asked me. I'm glad you asked me gutsy questions. I'm glad we were able to throw a lot of information into the pool.
Yes.
Into the gene pool of...
I hope the people listening, you've benefited from this conversation.
I hope so too.
A lot of comments, a lot of great ones. And if whenever you have a time, Bumba Mamu, if you want to go through it.
Smart. I'll do that. I will do that.
Yeah. Thank you for being here. And to the audience, thank you again for being here. The next episode is on the 10th of, what month are we in? June. And I'm really excited because it's going to be the first Carnatic artist on my show. And it is the very, very wonderful and amazing TM Krishna. And I'm seriously excited about that episode because firstly, it's going to open my eyes to a whole different world because I don't know a lot about, very honestly, I don't know a lot about the Carnatic world and I want to know more.
TM is a great guy. He's superb. So he's got a fantastic take on things.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it's a goodbye now. And
thank you very much.
And say hi to your parents. And
yes,
for all those who watched, thank you and lots of love. And God bless. Bye.
Thank you, Momo. Thank you.
Ciao.
Just when he's leaving, I'd just like to say one more thing. If you weren't here at the beginning of the live, there is a link that I've put just above this video for the Amphan Cyclone fundraiser that a theatre group in Kolkata are doing. Their name is Shohoj. They're doing a fundraising campaign. They're raising as much money as they can to help all those affected by the Amphan cyclone in West Bengal. They're going into villages and actually trying to help build a tube well there, also trying to get the salt water out of ponds, which has been affecting drinking water. So if you want to donate, please go onto their page, the Shohoj page. I've put the link on the title of this video, and you'll get all the details there of how to donate. So please go and support that cause. It's a group of theatre artists who have come together to, make this happen. So please go and support this. Please do it. Please do it. Wherever you are in the world, please try and support this. They're not a professional NGO, but they're trying their best to do whatever they can. That's one announcement. Second announcement, as all of you may know, myself and Abhishek Borkar, we've created a form called the ICMDS form where you can register yourself. Just a very, very short form. It takes about 5 minutes to fill up. Register yourself. So we have a database of musicians and dancers, Indian classical musicians and dancers on there. Please fill that form in. That link is also, that's a second link on there. So please go and fill that up. Next episode is on the 10th and it is with TM Krishna and I'm incredibly excited. I'll put the posters out soon and I'll see you guys on the 10th. Thank you very much for being here and I'll see you on the 10th. Bye.